Hi, my name's Judith Turner, and today I'm going to show you a raincoat that had a tear on the underarm seam. It had the plastic coating, which made it a little bit more difficult to sew, but also initially when you look at it, it looks like there's no actual visible way of getting in to repair the seam. Now generally when it comes to a lined garment, there are a number of places that you can actually get into it. One would be the hem at the bottom. It might have been folded up and top stitched. This one here, like the pocket for example at the top, that was actually top stitched down, so you wouldn't want to touch there. Usually on most line jackets you find an opening on the lining on the inside of the sleeve. So I opened up the sleeves and there was no visible top stitching there at all, same with the other sleeve. So that means that it's more than likely the zipper was probably the last thing that was replaced, and therefore if I unpicked the top section of the zip I would have access. However, I didn't want to touch the zip, so the next best thing is to look in a pocket. Now in this particular pocket I'm just showing you, there it is, it's all closed, but it's a great place to open out and access a garment, because when you close it again they're not going to know that that was where you went in the first place. So I've already started to unpick one of the pockets, the pocket on the side where the tear is, and all you need to do is have enough room so that you can actually fit your hand in. Once you can do that, put your hand inside, grab hold of the seam that needs to be repaired, and just pop it back out through that opening. Now you can see all those little plastic bits, or I don't know if it's teflon or what it was. I couldn't see it on the label, it didn't tell me. But actually the blue was worse to actually sew than the green. But so what you want to do is just clean it up, remove any loose threads that are there, and then pin it into place. Now you can see from this particular fabric that it's got this plastic there, and I knew that that was going to cause me a bit of difficulty, particularly since it's both sides. So what I did was I placed some baking paper underneath the foot of the machine. In hindsight, I probably should have put some on the top as well, or maybe used brown paper. But so I also have just brown paper bags, and I tear them up and use them as well sometimes. But I mean, this worked. It was just that I had to actually grab hold of the back and help it through because of the fact that it just wanted to grab hold. And of course, if you might have some silicone spray or something like that, you can use silicone spray. That helps as well. And you could combine your silicone spray with a teflon foot, and that would work as well. So it's just a matter of working through. You can see that what I'm doing is that I'm doing a few stitches and then I'm just lifting the foot and putting it down again, and basically what that's doing is that's easing the fabric in as I go so that it doesn't bunch or pucker. I mean, this is a situation where you would not obviously sew too quickly. I want to sew into the original stitching, because this particular fabric obviously ends up with tiny little puncture marks, and I didn't want to have those puncture marks showing on the other side, so it's important to make sure that I go through them. If you do have a situation where you're working with a fabric that has got puncture marks in it, and maybe your concern is when you sew over the top of that you might create more and therefore tear the fabric. In this case it wasn't doing that, it wasn't that bad, the puncture marks, but what you would do is then just sew a little bit to the left, in this case, of the seam. In other words, you'd be taking it in slightly so that you're creating a new seam line, and the original seam line is on the inside. When you come up to a join, just ease across as best you can. Sometimes it helps to actually put a pin, have a pin, so that you're sort of gently pushing the fabric back in underneath the foot of the machine. This plastic that was there had actually become quite torn, so what I did was I eventually lifted some of it away so it was out of the way. I do apologise for my hand being in the way there, but I mean, it's, you know, when you're trying to video and you're trying to sew at the same time, it can sometimes be difficult, because I wanted the video to be as close as possible, so trying to angle yourself around the camera as well. So now it's just a matter of gently tearing the baking powder out of the way, and like I said before, if you don't have baking powder, try tearing a brown paper bag in half and placing that underneath. Sometimes actually I think that the brown paper works better than the baking paper. If this was just a normal jacket, you know, perhaps a bomber jacket or something like that, which has got a similar situation, and you've accessed the repair through the pocket, then all you've got to do is check to make sure that you're happy with your sewing, and then pull the pocket out and pin it into place. And what I do is you can either hand stitch it closed if you want to, or as I do, which is just top stitch right around the edge as close as you can to the edge as possible, making sure that you actually catch both sides. So as I mentioned to you before, there are a number of ways that you can access jackets. You're not always going to come up with something like this, which has got the plastic on it, but you may find that you'll come across some jackets which don't have easy access. The most common way to get into this type of casual jacket is through the hem at the bottom. Usually it's turned twice and then it's stitched down, and all you've got to do is unpick the seam, and you can put your hand up inside and access the the repair, whatever it is that you need to do. And of course what we've done today is to access it through the pocket, so that's another alternative. And of course the final alternative would be to unpick the zipper, and generally that would be stitched down onto the lining first, and then they would stitch it down flat, so that you would start on the right side and unpick that, not the lining side. For more videos, go to my blog at it's called hints and tips at jeanniecentre.com. Happy altering!